Who is Glenn Burke? This is a picture of him graduating from high school, Berkeley High School in the early 70s. He's a native son of the Bay Area. And this is Glenn Burke playing in a LA Dodgers uniform in 1977. This is him on the left. And this on the right, you may recognize this person as Dusty Baker, who was the manager here for the San Francisco Giants for many years. In the 1970s, Dusty Baker played with Glenn Burke in the outfield of Dodger stadiums. They were both with the Dodgers. And this moment right here is the very first time that the high five happened. And Glenn Burke is credited with having invented the high five at this moment with Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker had just hit his 30th home run on the last day of the season, and Glenn Burke was in the on-deck circle, and he lifted up his hand in the air, and Dusty Baker met it right there. Since then, the high five has existed as a universal gesture of celebration, camaraderie, friendship, many things. It's that joyous thing that we've all done many times since it was invented. And Glenn Burke is given the credit for having invented the high five. So more about Glenn Burke. He played in the LA Dodgers outfield 1978 and 1977. He was a prospect at the time. People thought he was going to be a great player. He was sort of a can't-miss young player. He was considered to be the next Willie Mays because he was fast, he was a good fielder, he hit for power, and he was intelligent. He was also a really fun young man. He was considered the most fun guy on the bus among the Dodger teammates. A few months ago, I gave a speech about archetypes on a team, how they play different roles, and there was the role of the kid, the person who's useful and really enthusiastic and makes people happy just by his exuberance and his presence. This was Glenn Burke as a Dodger teammate. The other players just loved him. His infectious quality of just joy rubbed off on all of them. The other thing you need to know about Glenn Burke was he was the first openly gay baseball player. But the other Dodger teammates, it's a very macho culture of sports in the 70s, but the other Dodger teammates didn't care because he was such a fun person. His personality just rubbed off on everybody. They all just liked him. It didn't bother his teammates that he was gay. They didn't question it. They didn't have a problem with it. But Dodger management did have a problem with it. The general managers of the Dodgers named Al Campanis, he offered him a $50,000 bonus if he would get married. And Glenn Burke's response was, get married to who? A woman? He wasn't going to have anything to do with that, even though this is Los Angeles in the 1970s. In Hollywood, there were gay actors who had fake marriages just to be able to give them a tabloid cover of a straight life. But Glenn Burke was also living in Los Angeles, wasn't going to go along with that. Okay, here are two key figures that are instrumental in the story of Glenn Burke with the Dodgers. This is Tommy Lasorda, who as Giants fans, we recognize as the person we love to hate. We would boo him unmercifully when he was at Candlestick Park. And he actually kind of liked it. He fed off that negative energy and he kind of enjoyed being booed. And he's an interesting person if you look at the whole picture. And this is Tommy Lasorda Jr., who was Tommy Lasorda Sr.'s gay son. Tommy Lasorda's son was gay, only he never really accepted the fact that he was gay. He would continuously deny this. Here's a picture of Tommy Lasorda Jr. that I found on the internet. There are a few pictures like this of him. I don't know if he was a model or if that was just a fashion of the time to take these glamorous photographs, but this is kind of a sample of what Tommy Lasorda Jr. was like. He and his father too, until the day that Tommy Lasorda Jr. died in the 90s, he continuously denied that his son was gay. Tommy Lasorda Jr. would become friends with Glenn Burke, who everyone knew was gay, as a Dodger outfielder. The details of their relationship are not known. It's not clear whether their relationship was anything more than just friends, if it became romantic or sexual. However, regardless of what happened or didn't happen, the friendship between Glenn Burke and Tommy Lasorda Jr. was a big problem for Dodger management. They did not like this. This was a major threat to Tommy Lasorda Sr., who did not want to know that his son was gay, did not want to acknowledge it, and certainly did not want him to be friends with Glenn Burke. So the problem was solved by Dodger management by trading Glenn Burke to the Oakland Athletics. And you would think that this would be good for Glenn Burke because he's coming home, coming back to the Bay Area. Glenn Burke grew up in Berkeley, and Oakland is just down the road from that. But here, it didn't really work out because unlike the Dodgers teammates, his A's teammates knew about his sexuality, but didn't really accept it. They were reportedly scared to be in the same shower with him. And the Oakland fans were not kind to him either. The outfield fans would heckle him, call him slurs from the outfield. And if you've been to the Oakland Coliseum or stadiums in general, it's the outfield fans that are usually the most abusive. They don't have to look at the outfielder in the face when they're yelling things. So I could imagine a lot of abuse was thrown at Glenn Burke's back from the fans in the outfield. So Glenn Burke plays 1978 and 79 in an A's uniform. His statistics are not very good. I looked him up. He's batting .220, .230. I think he got 1 home run 1 year, but he didn't get a lot of playing time, probably because they just didn't really believe in him. Here he was touted to be the next Willie Mays, and he's in an A's uniform, and they don't really like him. They're not giving him a lot of time to develop. In 1980, Billy Martin shows up in Oakland as their manager. Billy Martin kind of has a notorious reputation in baseball history. He's known for being good with young players, developing them. He helped Rickey Henderson hone his base stealing abilities. He's most known for abusing umpires. He knew how to be the center of attention in the stadium by abusing the umpires. So he's kind of like a figure that people admired for being abusive, but he was also abusive towards certain players that he didn't like. And one of them he did not like was Glenn Burke. In 1980 spring training, he introduced Glenn Burke to the rest of the team. Oh, this is Glenn Burke. And by the way, he's a faggot. So this is the way he speaks about Glenn Burke in front of the whole team. Then Glenn Burke does not have a very good spring. He injures his knee. And then what happens after that? He gets demoted to Utah affiliate of the A's, the minor leagues. Glenn Burke, who had been touted to be the next Willie Mays, is demoted to the minor leagues 4 years after having played 4 years with majors. Burke says, "I've had it. I'm quitting baseball. They're not going to accept who I am." So Glenn Burke leaves baseball in 1980. So what does he do? He's living in the Bay Area. He moves across the bay to the Castro district. And there, he really thrives on the gay culture that's emerging in the 1980s in Castro. And he plays in various sports organizations. He gets involved with the Gay Olympics, and he really excels in various sports there. And he also plays on a softball team. There's an all-gay softball team that's representing the Castro district, and he plays the whole left side of the infield, shortstop and third base both. And they have an interesting game that's kind of like a grudge match. This all-gay team from the Castro district against the San Francisco Police Department softball team. Glenn Burke is playing on this team, and they win. They beat the cops in the grudge match against the police department. At the time, relations between the SFPD and the gay community were not very good. So this was important to win this game, and it's there in the social history of the Castro district. Glenn Burke also encounters bad times in the 1980s. The bad things that could happen to you in the 80s happened to Glenn Burke. He develops a cocaine addiction. He experiences homelessness, and he comes down with HIV. He also gets hit by a car, gets run over, has his leg and his foot squashed, and that's sort of the beginning of the end for him. Things don't go well. And then in 1995, Glenn Burke dies of complications due to AIDS. So it's been a few years since then. Now Glenn Burke is being recognized. In Oakland, the Oakland Athletics have changed the name of their Pride Night to Glenn Burke Pride Night. So he's officially recognized by the team that didn't treat him very well. There's also a wellness center in Oakland that's named the Glenn Burke Wellness Center. Here in the Bay Area, we have what's called the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, where we honor the athletes that have shown themselves to be great or really key to the community here. And among these include Joe Montana, Willie Mays, and there's a lot of others that you'll know, John Madden, Mark McGuire, people who've really made their mark on Bay Area sports. So I believe that Glenn Burke should be enshrined in our Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. The Sports Hall of Fame isn't located in one specific place. They make these plaques that are pretty much like the plaques of other Hall of Fames, like Cooperstown, New York has the Bay Area, has the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and they make plaques like this that have an image of the person and tells you a little bit of history of them. But here in the Bay Area, there's not a central place. These plaques are distributed in various places. Here's a wall at the Oakland Coliseum that contains some of the plaques. Here's Reggie Jackson. This is John Madden. I believe this is Mark McGuire right here. And here is Kurt Flood. So, and an interesting thing to add, Billy Martin, who was Glenn Burke's nemesis, has been enshrined in the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. I'm not sure where his plaque is. And I am not saying, okay, this is a time when people's statues are getting toppled because of changes in politics, because they've been deemed to have a racist past or homophobic past or something like that. I'm not saying that we need to find Billy Martin's plaque and take a crowbar and peel it off of the wall. I'm not saying that Billy Martin should be taken out of the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, but I am saying that Glenn Burke is equally, if not more, deserving of enshrinement in the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, and he should have a plaque somewhere in the Bay Area. It doesn't necessarily need to be next to Billy Martin's, but it should at least be in the Oakland Coliseum somewhere, perhaps in the new stadium. If the A's get a new stadium, that it should be there. Because, you know, Glenn Burke was a trailblazer, first openly gay baseball player, and he invented the high five. So this is what I am going to do. I haven't done this yet, is to contact the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. Their phone number and their email are here. And I'm going to let them know that Glenn Burke is getting my vote to be in the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. I'm not sure what their procedure is on how they make choices, but if anyone is with me, please contact the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame and let them know that you believe Glenn Burke should be in our Hall of Fame. So thank you very much. This concludes my speech, and give a high five for Glenn Burke.